Tight end stack left, Hollins there as well. Henderson in the backfield, a throw to the right. And the lob is caught by Keyshawn Booty, spilling across the sideline, but not before he scores a touchdown. Patriots, ball game. You can start your buses now. I've seen enough.
That was Scott Zolak calling game in the first quarter. It was 17-0 at that point, and there was a little part of me rooting for the Giants to come back in this game just so we could laugh at that call, but they didn't really come back. They lost 33-15. There was also Bob Sochi on WBZ. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. That's Nick Shook. You are nice enough to join us after a blowout on Monday Night Football live on YouTube. We appreciate you all, Shook, and we appreciate one of the biggest stories of this NFL season. We enter the stretch run, and yes, the Patriots have now got to their bye week here at 11-2 with Drake Maye as a real deal MVP favorite.
Not favorite, but candidate. Definitely a candidate. He's going to be competing with that guy who's 37 years old with a gray beard wearing number 9 out in LA. But he's a candidate for sure.
It is so early. I want to just push back without being annoying to every tweet that I see that's like, Drake Maye is the MVP right now. He can win. He should win. You're like, or this is the MVP. There's more than a quarter to go of the season. That is so much season. For the Patriots, there's only 4 games. For the rest of the NFL, we have 5 whole weeks. But Drake Maye is right there. And I think tonight was a great example, if you haven't been watching him a lot this year, of what he looks like. What did you see out of the second-year quarterback tonight?
I mean, more of the same, but also the ability to make some plays. When he's got to get mobile, he took off for some scrambles, which I think was lacking in the last few weeks. And it's a big part of his game. He is one of the better running quarterbacks in the NFL. I think that could actually be the key that unlocks their goal-to-go struggles, which they were like 50% or around there tonight. First time, they run into a frustrating set of difficulties that ends up in a field goal, and then the second time they win the fade to Keyshawn Booty. So it's like you see both sides of the coin with their goal-to-go situation. But overall, Maye, again, super accurate, 24-31 he finishes on the night, nearly gets that 300-yard game, gets it pulled from him because his touchdown pass to a wide-open Hunter Henry gets called back by a penalty. But, I mean, he's comfortable. He's poised. No matter the stage, he's now played a primetime game on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. He's looked good in all 3. Like, he's just... He reminds me in a different way of what I thought about Joe Burrow when I saw him in week 2 of his rookie season in Cleveland. And it was a primetime game, and the speed of the game never bothered Joe Burrow. And Maye has looked like that basically his entire career, and especially this season. And this is a night in which he played behind an offensive line that was not at full strength, never bothered him. He's got incredible composure, and I think he's the perfect quarterback to lead this turnaround, and that's why they're 11-2.
Yeah, I was worried about what the offensive line was going to look like tonight, but ultimately the Giants didn't have a ton of pressure in this game. It was about a 25% pressure rate. Maye stepped up. I thought Troy Aikman, first of all, really enjoyed being on the Drake Maye call. It's like, a young quarterback for Troy to just talk about, and one that plays the game the way he likes it. Drake Maye, Troy made the point, so often steps up in the pocket to kind of help his tackles out. And he took a couple of short sacks tonight, including Abdul Carter's first one of the season. We'll get to him in a second. But yeah, it was the variety of the type of throws. Like, that is a great feathered touch pass to Keyshawn Booty in the end zone. You saw him getting through his reads really quickly. That first drive of the game, like he got to his third read on one of the third downs there so fast. It's the out routes. There was one to Demario Douglas. There was another to Stephon Diggs. For the most part, right on point. And then, yes, you do have the deep ball. As always, Drake Maye hitting it long at least once in the game. This one to Kyle Williams.
Outside right, snap back to Drake. The blitz coming. Maye moves up, throws a long line. There's separation there, and the pass to Williams is perfect. Touchdown, Patriots! He caught it. I was worried, was he not in? I mean, if he's in, this is one hell of a catch with the feet. He dropped this in the bucket. What a throw by Maye. They showed blitz, they bailed. And then they have a late blitzer come. And he stayed in the pocket, stayed with it. Ball's in, there's one. And he dropped the toe there.
Oh, that was such a great throw and a maybe even better catch by Kyle Williams, who now has 5 career catches. One of them was that great catch he made on the 72-yarder against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which was also a great throw, and that's a 33-yard touchdown. So very, very efficient, and I think he was only in the game because Kayshon Boutte appeared to get banged up just a little bit on the play before, although he came back quickly. Yeah, it's a little bit of everything from this young quarterback. At one point in the game, and I believe he finished there, he was 5 for 5 on intermediate throws, 10 to 19 yards, and he would have had another touchdown, a 30-yarder to Hunter Henry, but that was called back by an illegal formation in this game. Comparing him, Shook, to Jackson Dart on the other side, what did you see out of the Giants rookie quarterback?
Well, first off, I'm so glad that Bob Sochi and Scott Zolak gave Drake his flowers for that throw, because on the Monday Night Football call, it's all about the catch, which is a great catch. Don't get me wrong. But that is a perfect pass. And we have seen Drake do that all season. No matter the opponent, no matter the situation, he has consistently just dropped in the bucket at a level that you typically don't see from a guy who's in his second season in the NFL, which is why he's having such a special year and why he's in the MVP conversation. But when you compare him to Jackson Dart, first game back after, being out with a concussion for a few weeks, I hate to say this, but it's a great illustration of two quarterbacks who understand how to play within the pro game and the other one who can't break his bad habits or his old style of play. Jackson Dart doesn't protect himself. Okay. He comes back from a concussion and he puts himself out in danger multiple times. He drifts around the pocket trying to find an escape route or somebody open and sets himself up to get hit hard as he, decides to slide and get down too late. He scrambles I think it was a 3rd and 13. He picks up 12, or maybe it was second down. He picks up 12, but tight roping the sideline to try to get that last yard sets him up to get absolutely leveled by Caden Ellis, which of course draws a sideline fracas and then results in a penalty on Theo Johnson for defending his quarterback. Like, that is one of the hardest hits you're going to see a quarterback take on the sideline in the NFL, no matter the team. Like, and everybody, Connor tweeted this and I thought it was hilarious. Connor Orr, he said, all those people who were upset about Patrick Mahomes being a sideline penalty merchant a few years ago now feel vindicated because Dart just got leveled on that play. Get out of bounds, Jackson. Get out of bounds. Yes. That extra yard is not worth you sacrificing or at least risking your health when you've already missed multiple games because of injury this season. I understand you have a never say die attitude and it's propelled you to this point in your career, but you're the franchise quarterback. You've shown enough for the Giants to believe in you. It is not worth 3 more feet to get blasted, absolutely leveled by Caden Ellis, as you're seeing in this replay here, which then leads your tight end Theo Johnson to get in Ellis's face and sparks a little Donnybrook on the sideline. This is not worth it. Think about the long game here, please.
It always makes the hit look a little bigger when the player just goes flying through the air. Man, I'm trying to think about that. There was a hit on a running back this week, and that was just like that hit. And Christian Ellis of the Patriots, who's been a special teamer. Caden Ellis, of course, the great Atlanta Falcon. Christian Ellis, our friend Bo Wolf's maybe favorite Philadelphia Eagle of all time, was out there, stealing souls tonight. He also put Gunnar Olszewski, the Giants punt returner, out of the game with an absolutely brutal helmet-to-helmet hit, which is legal, and yet it feels like it shouldn't be, which forced a fumble. And that was part of just a disastrous night for the special teams for the New York Giants. To close the point on Jackson Dart, and then I'll talk special teams. Dart talked for 2 weeks. The Giants talked for 3 weeks after that concussion. Yeah, that he's got to be more careful. He's got to take care of himself. We might adjust the play calling. You mentioned how he got hit a few times tonight. It was twice in the first 6 plays. The third play of the game was Harold Landry absolutely crushing him, where the play was essentially over, but Jackson Dart didn't go down in the way that Drake Maye usually just kind of takes the sack in the end. He does kind of give up on the play. He just sort of is wandering forward, not knowing what to do, and then ducks at the last second. And so Landry gets like a big shot on him, and that was 3 plays in, and then the shot you just saw was another 3 or 4 plays in. And yes, that was only 10 plays or 7 plays into the game, and yet it was already 10-0 because Marcus Jones was doing Marcus Jones things. I think it's time for Who Delivered, presented by Uber Eats. Let's listen to the call of Marcus Jones, the all-time leader in NFL history in punt return average. You might say, oh, he's a pretty young player. You know what? You need 75 punt returns to qualify. You know what punt return this was in his NFL career, Shooky?
76.
75! Let's listen.
Rugby player from Inverness fields the snap, left foots the punt, left to right toward Marcus Jones. He's under between the hash marks at the 6. He runs it left to the 15, to the 20, accelerates 30, 35, 40, beating Gillen off the hit along the near side 40, to the 30. Marcus Jones going to the 20, to the 10, to the house. Touchdown, Patriots!
Look at his plays. You tell me they're not ready for playoff football? Gillette Stadium is back.
Oh my God. The crowd was
on one tonight.
Yeah, the crowd was live. I do think for Patriots fans, and I know we are a loathsome bunch, especially in that stadium. But tonight, I think it being a primetime game at home against the Giants, like, I do think it was kind of like a, hey, that was a rough 5 years or whatever it was, like, the Patriots are back kind of night. And the fact that it started that way with a guy, by the way, drafted by Bill Belichick, it almost kicked off kind of a night-long celebration where it did feel like the good old days.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to come to your defense here because you're right. A lot of people hated Patriots fans for a long time because out of jealousy. I mean, the Patriots were a dynasty. They were one of the best teams in the NFL for 20 years because of Tom Brady's career. They were always there. They were the team that you couldn't put away, that they were always going to be in the conversation. They're always going to be a thorn in your side. And Patriots fans acted as if, they were entitled, right? Because they had Tom Brady at quarterback. They had Bill Belichick as their head coach. They knew that they deserved, or they believed that they deserved, to always be in the conversation. And oftentimes they were proven correct. But this team is different. Not only did they just go through a rough 4 or 5 years without Tom Brady, not only did they watch him go down to Tampa and win one final Super Bowl, and then watch the de-evolution, the downfall of Bill Belichick's career with the Patriots, but they also had to go through the abyss of the year after Bill Belichick with Gerard Mayo, who was chosen by the franchise as the replacement. They're in a good place now. They got their quarterback, and they got a former Patriots hero in Mike Vrabel, who understands what it takes to win with the Patriots. I, for one, am on board with this. I don't know how far they're going to go, but this is a likable team to me, and it's all because of Mike Vrabel, because you see in that play that we just highlighted there, he's running down the sideline with one hand in the air, one finger in the air, kicking the PAT, just loving life. I'm sorry, but as a football guy, that's a football guy right there who's just loving where he is in life right now.
Well, one of our commenters, I knew people listening on Tuesday would be thinking the same thing, or saying like, oh, poor Patriots fans. It was like 4 years, like Brady was still there through 2019. They won the division there. It's like, and now they are set up because it's not going to be this easy every season, but they do have Drake Maye. And when Joe Buck was saying like, it's so easy to imagine him being their quarterback for the next 15 years, I could be proven wrong, but I do think Maye's ascension has been the single biggest story in the NFL this year, because I do think he's going to be one of those guys in the Burrow type of tier. I just don't see any reason that he wouldn't be, because the mentality is there. The physical skills are there. The biggest question that he had was probably accuracy. And right now he's basically the most accurate quarterback in the league. Let's fire through a few other things before we get to some questions. There was a question in the chat that said, at what point does more than Drake Maye's development matter for the Patriots? So that's a reference to what I've been saying on this podcast since they drafted him, and certainly going into this year. The only thing that matters is Drake Maye. And I still think that's true. And that's why if they, somehow crashed out, didn't win another game the rest of the season, that would be pretty brutal. If they, go 2-2 the rest of the season, or even 1-3 and crash out of the playoffs, and Drake Maye actually looks good during it, then that's all that, to me, that is all that matters long term. But I think the question is alluding to, like, okay, now that they've gotten this far, the expectations change. And I think that's absolutely fair. We're going to break down the AFC hierarchy in just a couple of minutes. And I do put the Patriots in with the teams that have a chance to make the Super Bowl. So I think this is that point. They're going to the bye week. They have the Bills and the Ravens afterwards. And now it's a test of like, okay, there is an opportunity here that might not be there every year. There's not superpowers in this AFC. You have a chance to go do something special, kind of like the last time people actually liked the Patriots, the 0-1 Patriots, a team that came out of nowhere. And so I do think it's changed. I do want to fire through just a couple other quick things in this game before we move on to the AFC hierarchy. That was Who Delivered, by the way, presented by Uber Eats. When football makes you hungry, get game day deals on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Marcus Jones to the Pro Bowl. He's been a great slot corner this year.
Okay.
Didn't have a great night at cornerback tonight,
Yeah.
I will admit, and maybe hasn't played as good the last couple weeks, but has made a lot of plays this season and is probably the all-pro returner. So I just... Why you making a face to me?
No. I'm just saying because I think Chimere DK makes an argument for returner for that spot in the Pro Bowl, but I agree that the total picture of Jones playing corner too as well, that also helps his case because you're right. He hasn't been good in the last few weeks or whatever. He's been okay, but I think back to when he picked off Josh Allen, he's made some big plays. There was a 2-week stretch where he made the same interception basically twice. He's been a very good player for them overall. So that's the difference. And DK, considering where he is as a developing receiver with a bad Titans team, I think that he should get some love too. Maybe
we got 5 more weeks. Well, there's punt returner on All Pro. There's punt returner and kick returner. They split it up. So maybe don't they? Jones, an incredible punt returner, but for his size to play as well as he's played at slot corner, he's just having a career year. A great comment that I totally forgot about in the chat that Mike Vrabel interviewed for the Falcons job. Remember how mad Bill Belichick and Michael Lombardi were that they did not give him the Falcons job, and that basically Belichick spent a year on his media properties, and especially Lombardi, making fun of the Falcons and having a vendetta against the Falcons because they didn't hire him and they hired Raheem Morris? How about the fact that Mike Vrabel was trying to get that job? Mike Vrabel was trying to get any job in that first coaching cycle after he lost the Titans job. Didn't happen for him, and didn't get the Patriots job either, by the way. They passed on him for Gerard Mayo, and it worked out. Sometimes better to be lucky than good. You know who was not good tonight? Your friend, Katie Caldwell, your co-host on the great podcast, the only F1/NFL podcast, Gridiron. Check it out. Twitch stream. I don't know. It's what it is. She points out that the Giants had the funniest kicking attempt that she's ever seen. It was a brutal night for the Giants special teams, but Younghoe Koo stubbing his toe on a kick attempt.
It's so funny to watch.
It's crazy. It's sad.
It's so bad. All right, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see it now. That Koo approaches where Gillen's holding the ball ready to be kicked. And I believe his plant foot was too far ahead. I'm not sure what happened, but as his foot comes down, his toe goes directly into the Gillette Stadium turf, and he just stops in his tracks right there. Because what are you going to do? Try and just halfway kick it? No, it's never going to get there. But it's just an illustration of, hey, how hard it is to kick a field goal, and also how treacherous the responsibility can be if you don't get everything absolutely right. Because then you're just left there. In the play log, it's Jamie Gillen sacked for a loss of 13. The funniest line in a play log you're going to see all season. And it all is because the kicker stubbed his toe.
That is unreal. Watching it, I'm in my kitchen. My brother Dean and his wife Karen are here. We're with my kids. I watched the first half with them and then came out to the garage. That happened. And they were like, what happened? And then they show the replay. They showed Jackson Dart making that comment. I think he said, oh my God, or something like that, and rolling his eyes. Everyone laughs. But my brother, who I think last watched the football game when the Patriots beat the Falcons in the Super Bowl, he's a musician, not really aware of what's going on with American football. He's like, does that happen often? and I said, I'm pretty sure that's literally never happened in a professional football game. I don't know if it's happening. It's probably happened in a high school game. I mean, I was like, there's no way Younghoe Koo has ever done that before.
No.
I'm pretty sure that's never happened in a pro football game. And I've never seen it happen in a college football game. I mean, dry conditions,
yeah. And
it wasn't like he slipped.
College football games are a terrible place for kickers. There's the whole college kickers thing because they just miss field goals. But
that's never happened. If it happened, we would know. Here's what would happen. We would know. No, I don't think it's ever happened.
It would come to mind. It would definitely come to mind. But it's also like, unfortunately, it just typifies Younghoe Koo's career. Because like he comes in with fanfare, he loses his job with the Chargers, he ends up with the Falcons. He has a great bounce back year.
He was great for like 3 years, bro. He was like a all-pro kicker, wasn't he? He
was that one really good bounce back year, and then he was pretty consistent, and then he was inconsistent to start the year, and the Falcons cut bait on him so quickly that told you all that you needed to know about how they felt about him. And now he finds another opportunity with the Giants. And this is what happens. Like it's this one mistake does not define your career, but it certainly does tell some of the story of what has been a winding journey for him as a kicker.
It was painful because all I thought, because they've been looking for a kicker and been running through different kickers, waiting for Graham Gano to come back, is that I really hope that is not the last field goal attempt of Younghoe Koo's career.
No, it can't be. That would be brutal.
Guys do bounce around. I'm sure you get another chance, but he also might get cut. Okay, let's go rapid fire. Couple Giants points here. Number one, Abdul Carter got let go or got benched for the first quarter of this game. And we have a comment, by the way, by the famous Will Gavin of TalkSport and Channel 5 over in the UK, who's become an international sensation, saying, I wasn't working on the game, yet I'm still up at 4 a.m. Why? To watch Drake Maye electric. I mean, and now you're up potentially till 4:30 in the morning watching us. Thank you, Will. A man who will do anything to get his name mentioned and get a little more limelight. I'm just kidding. What a way to thank a great friend and a great viewer.
He's going to be joining us. Of Commanders ever, by the way. Let's
the best pronunciation of everything. Abdul Carter got benched again for the first quarter of this game because he didn't show up to a team meeting, apparently, or some sort of team responsibility. That's the second time in 3 games with Mike Kafka. So that's what I'll remember the Mike Kafka era for. That and some gutless 4th down decisions tonight on a night where I'm thinking, like, Kafka's got to... I was going to have a big take, and I still have it, that I think Kafka has a better chance to keep this job than most people think. But I think you're going to have some surprising cool wins or moments in it. And to punt the ball on 4th and less than a yard late in the first half, and then you gave up a field goal to the Patriots anyways, and then to punt the ball on 4th and 8, down 2 scores. The game was reasonably close with like 8 minutes to go, and you punted there. And of course, the Patriots get back to where they punted the ball in about 3 plays because the Giants defense stunk all night. The only reason the Patriots didn't score more is they kept stubbing their toe and they couldn't run in short yardage. Just a little gutless by Kafka.
Stubbing their toe. You know what? I'm going to defend him for a second because let's consider the situation here. And I just looked up the next gen probability or what the recommendation was. And the recommendation was go for it, but it was only by like a small percentage. I believe it was 0.5% or 0.5%.
You're trying to win a game here. You're trying to do something special. The only chance you have is to do something special.
Okay, and you're right, if he wants to keep the job. Because you don't win the job like Antonio Pierce once won the job with the Raiders unless you win games, and they have not done that with Kafka, right? But also consider the situation. You are deep in your own territory. You have not stopped anything for most of the first half. The Patriots have all the momentum in the world, and they are ready to just finally knock you out for good. So if you don't get it on 4th and 1, which you've already been stopped turnover on downs earlier in this game, then at least you force them to go, I don't know, 50, 60, maybe even 70 yards if the Scottish Hammer gets into it, which he kind of didn't. But what you don't account for is that your defense is going to give up like 55 yards in 3 plays.
Well, you could account for it if you've watched the game.
I guess that's fair. But I understood it. And I said if they would have gone for it there, it would have been idiotic and desperate. But again, the Giants have 2 wins on the year. They have to be desperate because not being desperate is idiotic in itself, right?
Okay. It's 1 yard, though. And yeah,
that's hard for them.
They were at that's fair, the 36-yard line. My point is it just was not surprising that the Patriots were on the Giants' 19-yard line 4 plays later. 7 yards to Matt Collins, 15 to Demario Douglas, a short pass to Ramondre Stevenson. This Giants defense is just poorly coached even without Shane Bowen. And then, they kicked the field goal. By the way, the Patriots, I say this every week, though. Patriots receivers make tough catches. Mac Hollins made some tough catches tonight.
Yep.
I know Hunter Henry had a drop, which is rare for him, but Stephon Diggs, Kyle Williams tonight, certainly Kayshon Boutte, they might not beat you with speed score. They've got good hands. Like I've seen a lot of contested catches. That has helped the completion percentage. And then my final thing on this game is they should not keep Joe Shane. That's all. Like,
I
why
agree.
why did they move the goalposts? Before the season, they said, John Mara is on the record saying that wins and losses are gonna, that's what we need this year. We need to show progress. And they asked how, like wins and losses. He said, yes, we need to see it in the standings. And somehow they've moved the goalposts. They've won 2 games, and I don't think Joe Shane's done a good job. Start over.
Yeah, what they did was they scapegoated Brian Dable arguably too soon, because I think he finally got the quarterback that he could work with, and we saw signs of potential with their pairing, and then they just said, we need to make a change somewhere, so we're going to fire our coach, but we're going to stick with our GM because we like what he's done with our roster over the last couple of years. And I push back against that because Abdul Carter is a great example of how far they still have to go as an organization. This was the can't-miss guy in the draft. Everybody went into the draft thinking he's the best player in the draft. The Giants get him in the top 5, and everything's dandy, and they trade back in for Jackson Dart. That's great. What has he done this year? Not much. Lack of professionalism, at least according to reports, him getting benched in the first quarter 2 of the last 3 weeks. That's not good, which means, did you vet him? Or did you just go with, well, he's the best player on the board? That falls on the GM, not just on the coach. It falls on the GM as well. There's a lack of professionalism and accountability and preparation with this team right now, and it starts from the top down. So I totally agree. If you're going to fire the coach and blame him for everything, the GM that hired him and the GM that he was supposed to work with to turn this team around should also be held accountable. And I felt like it was a half measure. If you're really going to try to put the Giants back on track toward being a winning football team, I hate to restart because I think continuity matters, but you're not keeping any continuity by keeping your GM there. You're just perpetuating a list of or a routine, a habit of making poor decisions with your team further with the belief that somehow it's going to change with the new coach.
I love that. And I do allow for the possibility that John Mara will change his mind. He has before when talking about different coaching decisions over the years. So it could still happen. Carter reportedly was a guy that was maybe doing this during the Dable tenure. And that was part of some of the whispers that you see from the reporters that cover the team, that it was very permissive atmosphere with Dable there and getting him out the door. Now they're trying to get Carter into better habits, or Kafka is. But I'm just making the devil's advocate.
Because you talk about, I know, and I get that, but you move the goalpost with Joe Shane. Well, you're also kind of moving the goalpost with Dable, because think about the position he's in. He's coaching for his job. And in order to increase his chances of winning games to keep his job, he puts his best players on the field. Carter is supposed to be one of his better players on the team. You got to keep him out there. I don't like the idea of it being permissive either, because you got to establish some culture and sense of accountability. But I think he was in a tough spot regardless. Pinning that on him alone is not fair. Yeah,
and Carter, to be fair, came in, and I think he got 3 pressures in this first series.
Yeah.
He came in and he was he had his hair on fire. He got his sack, which was really more Drake Maye sliding at the line of scrimmage, but Carter got it. But he got a couple other quick pressures in there. So I thought he played a pretty good game. And I will say, when Jackson Dart was running back and forth during that 2-point try that he eventually hit, it reminded me of a play in Drake Maye's rookie year, a rare victory. Was it his only victory? Where he hit his receiver against the Tennessee Titans on an incredible 2-point attempt where he is running back and forth. It was just a guy showing that he's an athlete. And that was the first, Drake Maye, big time moment. And so maybe we'll think back on how this season ended. I don't think Jackson Dart has nearly the ceiling as Drake Maye, because you saw it tonight. You've seen it so far. He's just not that successful right now as a drop back passer, as a traditional, just forget the RPOs, forget the running. Though? Yeah.
That works for Bo Nix. At least it does for the most
part.
Yes.
That's why I'm saying the ceiling's not as high as Drake Maye, who I think always had every tool that you wanted. And I think Jackson Dart might not have that, or it's going to take a little while.
Yeah.
But I do think Jackson Dart's ceiling is pretty high, and I think he's looked pretty good as a rookie. All right, let's move on to this hierarchy talk. So, quick assignment, and we're gonna fire through this quickly. We finished 13 weeks. The final 4 teams that have a bye are going to have it in week 14. That's the Giants and the Patriots, and the Panthers and the 49ers. So, we're at a nice little point in the season here. I wanted you, after this game, because the Patriots are the number 1 seed in the AFC, to break down your AFC hierarchy. And I wanted you to do it not by power ranking, just purely who do you think has like the best chances, a real chance to make the Super Bowl? And how we're going to do this, we're going to go one at a time. It's too hard to go back and forth. I want you to give me your entire hierarchy right off the bat, top to bottom. We're not counting teams that aren't going to make the playoffs. It's only teams that you can imagine have a real chance to make the Super Bowl. You give me your hierarchy right off the bat, and then we'll talk about that, and then I'll go next.
Do you want to do this by tiers?
Yeah, give me your different tiers. Start at the top.
Okay, tier 1. Call me crazy because they're not currently in the playoff picture, but the Kansas City Chiefs are in there. This is in no particular order, but within the tiers. Kansas City Chiefs are in there. I'm going to say that the Denver Broncos are also in there because that defense is going to travel well. I'm skeptical of them, but I'm still going to put them in there because they've looked a lot better in the last few weeks, the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
And last but not least, the Indianapolis Colts. That's tier 1. Tier 2, we'll go New England Patriots, and then we'll go Houston Texans. And that's probably it for that one, because then I have questions about the remaining teams, which without keeping track of this, we'll go.
It would be Jaguars, Chargers. Have you said the Ravens yet?
That's going to be the Jaguars, the Chargers, and the Ravens. Yeah. Did I just say the Ravens already? I don't think I did. Because I have questions about all of them. The Ravens being Lamar Jackson just doesn't look like himself. The Chargers offensive line, and the Jaguars, they're very up and down.
Okay,
and Trevor Lawrence,
let's break this down here. Let's break this down. So you have the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Bills, and the Colts in the top tier. And you have those 4 teams a tier ahead of the Patriots. Now, the Colts ahead of the Patriots, the Broncos ahead of the Patriots. I've been kind of banging the drum that I think this Patriots team has some real shortcomings, but I'm curious for why you think they are a whole tier below a team led by a broken-legged Daniel Jones and Bo Nix.
It's not because of Mike Vrabel. It's because of the trench play. Losing Milton Williams is a big absence, and I think it was pretty apparent early in this game against the Giants.
Could get him back. Could get both him and Will Campbell back for the playoffs. I think they will.
But it's a big could, and I think that's going to be their biggest limitation. It's that, and I hate to say this too because the Colts don't really boast this either, but it's a lack of experience. Now, I love Drake Maye, and I don't think that he's the problem when it comes to a lack of experience, but there have been so many new additions to this team. They spent so much money in free agency. They're relying on a mixed cast where like Stephon Diggs is one of your most senior members on the offensive side, and he's had a great year. But if I have to like put a lot of trust in them, I think that while I could see them in the Super Bowl, I could see them much more being a divisional round loss candidate with a really high upside going into 2026.
But you can see in your mind's eye, myself, Jordan Rodriguez,
let's do it.
yourself, in a trailer outside of Levi Stadium like we were last year doing a podcast, and Shook taking up like half the trailer, and we're talking about that big fourth quarter drive, good or bad, we won't decide who wins the game, by Bo Nix in that Super Bowl. You can imagine that, or Daniel Jones. You can imagine that, but you can't imagine the Drake Maye one.
No, I can't imagine the big fourth quarter drive by Bo Nix. I can imagine the big fourth quarter stand by the Broncos defense, and I can imagine the big fourth quarter march by the Colts riding Jonathan Taylor and that offensive line to a victory and putting a game away that way. I'm not putting it on the quarterbacks. I know quarterback's the most important position in the NFL, but I think about the completeness of these other teams. And Denver's defense is, I think, still better than we even give them credit for, and could win any game at any time. It's going to be close. Like, it's never going to be a blowout. It's always going to be kind of sloppy. It's going to be very much playing with your food with the Broncos. But the defense, I'm telling you, I know it's old school, but they win championships. Okay. We saw it with the Eagles last year. And the Colts are a more complete team in that I trust Lou Anarumo to get the most out of his defense. I would like DeForest Buckner to be involved. And
he should be back.
Believe that riding Jonathan Taylor could be a key to success for them against a team that maybe doesn't have a great run defense and they get to the Super Bowl.
Okay. I think a lot of the commenters are wondering, like, why are the Chiefs in that first tier? But I'm going to go through mine now. Now, I disagree with you about the Colts. I don't disagree about the Chiefs being in the first tier because I just think they have a chance. Like, we're talking about chances to go to the Super Bowl. In this scenario, obviously, they got to make the playoffs. It's a little lower than some of the other teams because we know that the Patriots and the Broncos are going to the playoffs, for instance. And yet, like, I do think I can see that route. But the reality is this is the most open AFC, maybe open conference that we've seen in a long time. And so I have a monstrous first tier. I think that's the way I settle it. In no particular order. I have the Broncos as well. I have the Patriots. If you can get, I put those two in, even though I feel less confident in those two teams, because I think they have a really good chance of either being the 1 seed or the 1 and the 2 seed. That is a real advantage, especially being the 1 seed, getting to the divisional round. It all depends on matchups. I don't think any of these teams are great. And so I do think in the right day, the right matchup, those two teams could win a couple games. I do have the Chiefs and the Bills. The coaching, the quarterbacks, it's obvious. They're not playing their best. I just don't think people remember at this time of year just how freaking long these NFL seasons are. There will be a team that starts playing its best football in week 17.
Yeah.
Or 18. Or you know what? They stink going into the playoffs, and then they start playing really well. A la like the Bengals a few years back. They just have the components, and I know there's some real structural problems with these teams, but it's such a weak AFC that I can see it happening. So I put those 4 teams on the same level with the Ravens because I still think this defense is playing well right now. And you just can't tell me that a defense and Lamar Jackson couldn't somehow find a way to figure it out. And so that's 5 teams right there. And I wrote down 2 more. I actually thought at first, and now that I'm talking it through, I don't think I can do it, that I'd put the Chargers and the Texans in there too. Oh. Because I really just think, here's why, Shook, it's not a good AFC. Could the Texans defense be the best thing in the playoffs, and you have a really great young quarterback who plays his best and beats a bad field? Could Justin Herbert go total God mode with a ton of skill position talent and a pretty well-coached, complete defense? Hell, I'm putting those 2 in the first tier. It's a 7-team tier.
You just ruined the entire exercise because you.
No, that's the point of the exercise for me. That's the point of the exercise for me.
You just ruined it.
That is.
I appreciate your optimism because we did this exercise. What was it, 6-8 weeks ago? Where we're like, how many teams could we see making the Super Bowl? And we put half the freaking league in there. So I know you're an optimist when it comes to these things, but if we're gonna tier them, you got to have shortcomings with some. And I appreciate the wide open AFC.
But this is the
valid.
year. The Arizona Cardinals in 2009 was it?
Mm-hmm.
Lost week 16 and 17 by a combined 60 points. And then they were 1 drive away from winning the Super Bowl. The Green Bay Packers were a 6 or a 7 seed, and they went and won the Super Bowl. The Steelers made it as a low. This is a year. I just think anyone's got a chance. And I just don't think in reality there's that big a difference between this Patriots team and the Chargers, or this Broncos team and the Ravens, or a Bills team that's not great and the Chiefs or the Texans. I just don't. We keep seeing it. We'll see it again Sunday night. Texans, Chiefs. They're all around the same. So you shake them all up. They all got a chance.
You got to win with the Texans' performance against the Chargers in the playoffs last year, because pretty much everybody thought the Chargers were going to run away with that one, and they did. The Texans' defense dominated them. That was actually
but those two teams had no chance to win the Super Bowl or make the Super Bowl. This year, don't you feel different? I don't know.
I mean, because it's wide open, that does make sense. But at the same time, it's a confidence thing. Who is the most complete team? And there is no perfectly complete team. I just see the Chargers on a weekly basis still don't protect Justin Herbert. And I know we have all the faith in the world.
Well, that's the reason against them. But everyone's got
put them
some
against
reason.
the Texans, and they get shredded again by that defense. And boom,
sure.
You're done. Which is why you don't belong in tier 1. If I can identify one matchup where I can see you just getting dominated, you don't belong in tier 1.
But see, everyone's got that matchup. I think that's a great point, Shook. And weirdly, the Chiefs are a team that are pretty balanced. I think the Bills give them problems in the regular season, but I do think matchup wise, a team that could really run the ball on them would be dangerous. But then you look at the teams that are making the playoffs in the AFC, and it's who is that really? The Chiefs?
Yeah, that's
the
problem.
maybe the Colts. But the Colts, you can't tell me their offensive line is so great when I've seen their interior line totally cave in on Daniel Jones 2 games in a row. They're not pass protecting well, and the defense is blot. And so, like, do they get a matchup where they can hide those? I do think it's just going to be a year where it all depends on the matchups. And there's going to be kryptonite for different teams. And we won't know totally till we get there. But, like, the Broncos aren't some perfect team. They almost freaking lost to the Commanders last night.
Yeah, no, and that's the problem, is that we have no idea who these teams are week to week. Like, it's made picking games nearly impossible this season because even on the NFC side, Bryce Young looks terrible one week, looks great the next. Like, and that's totally true for all of these AFC teams. There's nobody who is consistently effective enough from week to week. They've lost certain matchups, and it makes it all very unpredictable, which is why it builds the intrigue of the NFL, which is why it's the best, most popular sport in America, and why everybody's going to tune in.
Dean in the chat says, y'all wilding out with this AFC hierarchy.
Thank you, Dean.
I thought Shook was out there for having the Pats in tier 2, and now 60% G has half the conference in the top tier. Hey, guys, life is unpredictable. Sports are unpredictable.
Okay.
This NFL season has showed us that actually it wouldn't be that big of a shock for any of these teams. I give them all about a 15% chance. And there's home field doesn't really matter. The pedigree matters, but that's why I'm bumping up the Ravens and Chiefs and Bills into the top tier, because they haven't really earned it otherwise. By the way, I do have a tier 2, and that's the other. Initially, I had the AFC South teams, all 3 of them in there, but now I've bumped the Texans up. My tier 2 is the Jags and the Colts.
Yeah, and I was gonna say,
I can't see them going through 3 weeks. And then the Steelers, you're not even on my list. I don't care that you're 6-6.
No, they're not in the conversation. They're not in the conversation. But basically, what you're telling me is that I should just prepare for. We're gonna fly out to Santa Clara in February, and I'm gonna meet you there, and we're gonna be on set, and we're gonna be breaking down Jags Bears.
Well, no, see, the Jags. The only way that I can be proven wrong is if the Jags or the Colts make the Super Bowl. I do think the fact that Daniel Jones cannot move side to side very well, and that their defense is just like meh. I mean, there's a lot of meh defenses here. The Patriots are one of them, but Daniel Jones not moving side to side plus meh. I don't like their chances. So I'm putting the Jags and the Colts in a tier below. So the only way I can be wrong is if one of the 2 of them make it, or the Steelers. Otherwise, one of my teams is going.
You're greasing the skids. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Hopefully the show has been more than fine. Thank you to everyone who has been tuning in. We love you all, especially Will Gavin, who's still in the chat, making it happen. I'm going to be back in the studio. Hit the music, Chris Babona. Great job, by the way. Every Monday night. Next Monday night, by the way, really good game. Chargers, Steelers. Chargers, Eagles. In a game the Eagles are really going to want, and a big test for that Chargers offensive line. Tuesday on the show, myself, Colleen Wolfe. I can't freaking wait. We will see you then.